All right, guys, welcome back to another video. This is just more of a video about my thoughts on the developer direct. I streamed it this afternoon, and I mean, the turnout was great. We had a great time watching the show. So thank you to everybody who did drop by. And we saw all of the games that Xbox showed off at this showcase and gave us more of an outlook for 2024, which is pretty phenomenal. If you think about all of the games Xbox now has in the works that we know of for 2024, everything that was shown off here, plus we also know Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming out. There's still all of the Activision Blizzard stuff that is coming out. We don't even know when those games are dropping into Xbox Game Pass, but it's going to be an absolutely insane year for Xbox. And I think this developer direct has really started it off very, very strong. So they showed off Ara History Untold, Avowed, Senua Sega Hellblade 2, Indiana Jones, and The Great Circle. And then there was the surprise of the show, the fifth game, not a shadow drop, but Visions of Mana showed up at the show where we saw gameplay of it. This is a game that I believe was announced last year during the Summer Game Fest or one of those shows, and it is a major Square Enix game, and it is the first Mana game that is actually launching onto the Xbox platform. So we'll start off with that one because that one to me got me extremely excited, and it just shows how that relationship between Xbox and Square Enix has developed since Phil Spencer has worked on it. He's been talking about working on the relationship with Square Enix and clearly getting one of their bigger games, the Mana series. If you played any of the older Mana series, in fact, the ironic thing for me with Visions of Mana is I'm actually playing Sword of Mana on my GBA or my analog pockets, and it's a great game. It's obviously much more retro than what we're seeing here. This one is brand new, shiny, kind of gives me the Dragon Quest graphic style, but it looks great. I'm really excited for this one. I was hoping we would get an announcement for Xbox Game Pass, but that isn't the case. They were just showing off the gameplay, which I still think is an awesome thing that they did here at the Xbox Showcase. If people were watching this in Japan, this is a game they're probably now associating somewhat in their mind with the Xbox platform. Or even if you were just thinking of wanting to pick up this Visions of Mana game, now there's going to be an association with the marketing with Xbox because they did show it off here at the Xbox Showcase. And here it says Xbox Series X, S, and PC. So specifically what they talk about in the actual release window of this is that it's launching in the summer of 2024. And they say Xbox Series XS and the Windows PC. And I thought this was great. I mean, I'm excited for this game. I'm going to be jumping into this game, whether it's on Game Pass or not. I was planning on picking it up and playing it. So really cool to have seen that gameplay. But let's move over to the rest of the showcase. There's a couple of hot topics here that I saw circulating around, people debating and discussing on what they thought about the show. My overall opinion of it is it's exactly what they told us it was going to be. It's exactly what I wanted to see, and that was gameplay of the games that we are getting this year in 2024 and giving us an outlook as to when we can expect these games. So Ara History Untold, that's the one that probably has the least amount of my interest. I may check it out. I really liked what they talked about with the simultaneous turns when you're doing PvP, because one of my biggest things at this point in my life with playing strategy games, especially if you are playing against PvP, it really takes a lot of patience. And I have to be in a certain mood to be able to wait a lot during a game. One of my biggest things with battle royales, why I never really got into them, is because I found like you were just waiting around and not doing much while you're waiting for people to come around and play against and fight, right? So they're coming out with a new system with the simultaneous battle system. I'm pretty interested. I've played the Civ games in the past. I've played Age of Empires in the past. I'm excited to see what this new take with Ara History Untold. They start off the show next year with Avowed. And first of all, Ara History Untold is releasing fall 2024. And then let's talk about Avowed. That was the first game that they did show off. And I thought that Avowed was probably the highlight of the show for me. I really liked the way that it looked. The most interesting thing about Avowed was the fact that you have all of these different dueling styles. I love the magic. I love how you can be a mage with two-handed magic. I love how you can mix magic with your sword, where like you could freeze the enemy and then go in with your sword and finish him off, and just all the other ways that you're going to be able to battle in this game. The other thing here is I thought the graphics looked phenomenal. And I thought these graphics were more along the lines as to what the expectations were when we first saw that original screenshot of Avowed, and kind of have somewhat of a more realistic look to it, but also have a unique art style. And it all came together in this trailer. We remember when they showed off Avowed at the Xbox showcase in the summer, and a lot of people were discussing about the way that the game looked. They thought they completely changed the look of it and made it far more artistic, more colorful, and got away from some of the realism look to the graphic style. And I kind of was thinking that as well, based off of what they actually showed at the Xbox showcase in the summer. But then we also come together here at this developer direct. The graphics look artistic with realism, and there are still those colors. It's still going to be very colorful, but that is just one part of the game. That's like one biome of the game. And then there is the more bland biomes, and that's where you really could see some of the more details and the realism that they were going for. So the game itself to me looks phenomenal. I can't wait to play this one. And this one is going to be dropping in fall of 2024. And the other thing here that is kind of a side note for Avowed is that this may be the best looking art that I've seen in a long time for a game, and the best looking cover art for a game. This is going to be on the physical release. And as somebody who still buys physical games a decent amount, I have a collection of physical games. I may be inclined here to pick up this game physically. I'm hoping there may be a collector's edition of some sort for Avowed, just so I can have this artwork in a physical way on my shelf, because it just looks really good. I'm thinking of making this a background, maybe getting a poster of it. Really amazing artwork here from Avowed. One of the best I've seen in a while. So really cool when it does come to Avowed. I'm super excited about just jumping into this game and seeing this world unfold. Now, the next game as well that obviously people are very excited for is Hellblade 2. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. And the release date is official now. It is May 21st. But we also got some other news for this game. We saw how it looked as well at this developer direct. I mean, we already knew how it looked. The combat looks far more brutal. It looks really, really good. It looks very detailed. But it also does look more of the same from the first game, just with a ton more detail and better combat, which is, I think, the main thing for me with Hellblade 2 is I want better combat. As I've said on my channel many times, I'm not the biggest fan of the first Hellblade. I can see what they were going for. I can see what it is, a very psychological, cinematic experience. And you're just going through this game slowly. You were doing puzzles, and then you had some combat mix in there that was okay, but nothing that really blew you away. And I was hoping for Hellblade 2 to be something that really expanded on that, gave us a far bigger scope of what they could do with all of the firepower behind them now, with Microsoft and Xbox owning them. That isn't going to be the case. The game is going to be $50. They have reduced the price of it, and it is going to be a shorter cinematic experience that I think they're saying around 7 to 8 hours. Now, I know I may sound a little bit disappointed about that, but I'm actually not when I sit back and think about it, because they reduced the price accordingly to what the length of the game that they are going to be getting. Now, people say, well, they've had a lot of time to develop this game. How is it only 7 to 8 hours? If you see the detail and you see some of the things that they're doing, that's why it's taken long to develop. This is going to be for people who want to sit down and have a major cinematic experience. I would say even more so than a gameplay experience. It's going to be people who want to have their headphones on. They want to be completely immersed in the world and basically just led through this venture that gives you immersion with the experience and the graphics and the actual videos in it, the cutscenes and the character portrayals and stuff, and then obviously the psychological part of it. So that's what this game is. This is, I would say, very much along the lines of a PlayStation first-party game with their linear cinematic experiences. So this is one of Xbox's answers to that, and they absolutely do need that. If you look at the games that they have from a first party, they need something like a Hellblade 2. And I like that they have reduced the price down to $50. What I don't like about Hellblade 2, more so than anything, is that they aren't putting out a physical release. And I understand, I believe the first one was similar to that. They did not have a physical release for the first Hellblade, so they're just kind of continuing with that. But you would think with the money and firepower behind Ninja Theory now, they would be able to put out a physical release. I think they could easily capitalize here on a special edition and put out a huge statue that people would be interested in, but they aren't going that way. Nonetheless, I am going to be jumping into this thing day one on May 21st just to see how immersive the world that they have built is. Put on my headphones, hear all the crazy voices going around. And it's just, I think it is going to be one of those experiences that a lot of people talk about because of the things that they are doing with their development. They show it off some of the stuff that they are doing, and it looks very, very in depth. Then the next one here that they showed off, which was the, I guess, the biggest one for a lot of people because we hadn't seen anything. And this is probably the most controversial one, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Machine Games, Indiana Jones, they are bringing this game out in 2024. Now, they didn't say when in 2024. They just said launching in 2024. And you can see some of the gameplay here. And what you'll notice that I think has a split reaction to it more so than anything is that this game is in first person with third person elements mixed in for things like climbing buildings, traversal, cinematics. You are going to see Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, his whole character, but the majority of the game here is going to be played in first person. And my take on this before we saw whether that was going to be the case or not was I will be slightly disappointed if it isn't third person, but not to any extent that I'm not going to be interested in playing this game or anything along those lines. And now that I've seen this game, what they showed off here at the developer direct, I have almost zero. Actually, I have zero disappointment. I think this game looks phenomenal. This is Machine Games through and through, giving you a perspective in the first person through Indiana Jones's eyes and giving us something different, because the reality of the situation is if Indiana Jones did come out in third person, it would just be compared to Tomb Raider. It would just be compared to Uncharted. And that's all Machine Games would have to base opinions off of, because that's all people will be talking about. What is it compared to Uncharted? What is it compared to Tomb Raider? And now it's his own thing. It's a game similar to those in obviously the settings and the tombs and the puzzles and all of that type of stuff, but it's in first person. So it is a different experience. And I honestly think it looks phenomenal from what Machine Games showed off. And Machine Games, I love their work with Wolfenstein. I think this is going to be a great game. I think this is going to be one of Xbox's best games this year based off of this trailer that we did see from the gameplay perspective. I love all the different elements with the whip and the combat and the traversal that you can do with it. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited for Indiana Jones, and it comes out in 2024. So that's an insane lineup. It's an insane lineup. And you got to think about it like this. Xbox is completely stacked. Now, my question here is it all stacked at the end of the year? Because that's what it kind of looks like at this point. You have Hellblade 2 in May, which is Q2. I made a mistake when I talked about this in an earlier video. I couldn't count properly for some reason, but that is Q2 of the year. So you have Hellblade 2 then. And then pretty much everything else is coming out in the last quarter of the year. It seems like everything is there stacked up in fall. And I mean, that's maybe just how it worked out for Xbox. And you still got to think about Call of Duty coming out in the fall. You got to think about maybe there's other stuff up their sleeve with Activision Blizzard. So fall for Xbox first party is going to blow away any other platform out there. It's going to blow away any other thing out there because they just have so many great games releasing all at the same time. My question is, do they have other stuff lined up for the rest of the year? But I feel like they do. I feel like there are a bunch of other games that are going to be coming out that we just don't know about, whether they're smaller games, they're AA or whatever you want to call them. They aren't going to be huge, big AAA releases, all of them, but I think they have a bunch of stuff up their sleeve for the rest of the year to keep people occupied. Specifically on, I mean, Xbox Game Pass. There's probably some third-party deals out there that are going to be coming into Game Pass for the first half of the year. And then there's probably some first-party stuff that we just don't know about yet. So it'll be really interesting to see. And then there's also Activision Blizzard, which we don't know about yet. We don't know when a bunch of those games are coming into Game Pass. This is an insanely stacked year for Xbox. May go down as their best year ever by the time we are through it. And this developer direct really just kind of solidifies that. If all these games do come out, it is insane. Adding Indiana Jones and the Great Circle to the slate of games that we already knew were coming out in 2024. I'm blown away with how good Xbox is looking right now this year. Not even over exaggerating. As you guys watch my channel, I'm pretty calm most of the time. I don't try to hype things up or kill things down too much, but I am over the moon right now in excitement for what Xbox does have coming out this year, I think is going to be one of their best years ever. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.